Welcome to my screencast for innovative uses of technology. My name is James Raleigh. This is for EDU709, Professor Zhang at CMU. My first example of an innovative use of technology is simply an embedded spreadsheet. Here's my PBWiki created for the course. This is the spreadsheet that I've embedded into my course wiki. The spreadsheet is a character exercise for students to work through on their own. Basically, they read the instructions and on a separate piece of paper, they work their way through reading the questions, writing down the answers, working through one cell at a time. This functionality allows them to work on this on their own, at their own pace, checking answers. It's not an assessment, it's not a quiz. They can go back and forth and check the answers. I've embedded it here from a Google spreadsheet. Basically, I've gone into a spreadsheet, I've created the review in the spreadsheet. Using the spreadsheet and embedding into the wiki allows me to control what's going on. Students have access to the course wiki. Here, though, they have no access to what's embedded because what's embedded in the wiki isn't really there. It doesn't reside in the wiki. It's simply being displayed in the wiki. So students can go through this, but they can't access the original content. The advantage of this is that, as I said, they can't touch it, but also that I can go in here and make any changes on the fly. If I find a mistake, I can make a change in the spreadsheet, republish it, and it will appear immediately. Very simple to publish the spreadsheet to the web. I republish and it updates. By the way, here is the embed code, making it very simple to embed it into the wiki. It also means that when I want to do the next one, I simply replace this one and again republish and it updates immediately. I don't need a new page on the wiki, although I could create a new page on the wiki. The advantage is that it gives me this control over it. It gives me the control of the window size. The disadvantage, of course, is that a student has to be motivated enough to work through. I'm assuming that my students are motivated. If they're studying Chinese, they're going to be motivated to do the review. And I like the flexibility here that embedding the spreadsheet in the wiki gives me. It's very easy to update. I can also share it with other people very easily. I can easily go into my spreadsheet, share this with whomever I want, other teachers, and get feedback from them, let them use the functionality as well. So this is very, very transferable technology. The process for the student is very straightforward. They simply go in here, read the directions, and work their way through. There's no technology really involved here. Anybody who can scroll down with a mouse or with a mouse pad can work through this. So there's nothing really for the students to learn. My second example is also embedded into a wiki, but it is a complete placement test embedded in the wiki. Using a number of different tools, I've embedded an entire placement test into the wiki. Now, I want to start out by explaining why you're seeing wiki spaces here instead of PBWiki. Although I had originally intended to do this in PBWiki, I found that one of the widgets that I wanted to embed, PBWiki doesn't allow. PBWiki restricts access to some, I guess, Java-based tools, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get this wiki to allow this embedding. I couldn't get it to work. So I went back to wiki spaces, which, to be honest, I prefer. I find wiki spaces much more straightforward, easier to use, more intuitive. So I'm happy to do this in wiki spaces. Basically, the placement test is a complete placement test. When new students enter a school, language teachers need to give them a placement test to know where they belong. It's a very time-consuming process. There are 4 language skills, and it can be very burdensome for a teacher to have to do that with each student. However, putting the placement test here allows the students to do them on their own. I've embedded a number of different things here. The first thing I've embedded is a Google survey using Google Forms. I've embedded that for some background information for the reading section of the placement test, both question and answers. For the listening, I've embedded the answer sheet as well. For the writing, one could easily use the same functionality. In this case, because it's Chinese and most Chinese teachers really want to see students' handwritten characters, I'm doing it on a separate piece of paper, but a French or Spanish teacher or any teacher with a regular alphabet might simply choose to use the same embedded Google form as a way of simplifying the process. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like for the Chinese placement background information. The form is very easily created. There's the form, I put my questions in. The students then come into the form for the background information and they fill it in. So I come in here to enter my information. James Raleigh, I'm going into 9th grade. I've been studying Chinese for 3 years. I studied simplified characters. The textbook is called Far East Chinese. I'm in book 3, lesson 7. And yes, I studied 1 summer in China. Oh, little typo there. Now, when the student hits submit, the information is going to flow directly into the Chinese placement background spreadsheet. So James Raleigh, 9th grade, 3 years, Far East Chinese, book 3, lesson 7, studied 1 summer in China, simplified character. If another student, or I should say when another student comes in and does this, name is Tom Smith, going into 7th grade, studied 2 years of Chinese, traditional characters, using Ni Hao, book 2, lesson 4, and no. When that student presses submit, the information goes into the same spreadsheet. So now I have 2 students. And as students do this, the information will populate the spreadsheet, bringing it all into one nice, neat place for the teacher. The same thing is going to work for all of the other surveys. The reading assessment results are going to flow right into the spreadsheet that's associated with this form. The listening answers are going to flow right into the spreadsheets that's associated with that form, etc. The second piece that I've embedded here is, for the listening, is MP3 files. So here's the first listening answer sheet, and here's what they have to listen to first.
上个星期四，我跟3个好朋友在一家中国饭馆吃了晚饭。
So they finish listening to that, and then they can go and answer the questions. In order to do this, I used Audacity, which is a wonderful and free program for creating audio files. And I'll just give you a quick example. This is your listening comprehension test. Now I've intentionally put a mistake in there. This is your listening comprehension test. Now I can fix this very easily. I go in here, I clean that up, clean up that noise at the end, get rid of this gap in here, and this is your listening comprehension test. And then it's very simple to export it and create an MP3 file, and then come back here and embed the MP3 file into the wiki. The last piece that I've embedded here, and in some senses the most important for this assessment test, is this speaking element. This is a wonderful, you have to click allow to let the element access your computer's microphone and camera. But this is from Michigan State University. They've created a wonderful suite of applications, which I'll show you in a moment. But first, I want to show you how this works. So the student logs in here, James Raleigh 412 test. And then what he's going to see is you're seeing me, the camera's picking me up. When he goes to real time, he's going to hear questions and he has to answer them. There are only 2 questions here.
你叫什么名字？你今年几岁？
我叫洛基，我今年51岁。
你是哪国人？你住在哪儿？
我是美国人，我住在纽约。Now I've completed the questions and answers. I can submit it. And it says your responses have been submitted to the owner of this conversation. So this functionality allows the teacher to create a conversation that they would otherwise have to do face-to-face, spending a lot of time. Here's MSU's Rich Internet Applications webpage. It's free because it is based on a U.S. Department of Education grant, so the functionality is free. They've got a suite of wonderful tools here. There's an audio and video Dropbox, meaning you can put a Dropbox on your website and students can put audio or video in it. There is a wonderful Jeopardy-like game creator. There's a worksheet functionality. The one I've used today is Conversations. And again, this allows the teacher to create a question and give time for a student to answer. This is actually the same as what they do on the AP foreign language exams. Okay, so here's the placement test that I've created. There's James Raleigh 412 test. So if I pull this up, the teacher, me, can now listen to the responses.
我叫洛基，我今年51岁。我是美国人。 我住在纽约。
So the teacher can then have all the students' responses here, listed here, and go in and listen to them one by one. You can play back the entire conversation, or you can play just the responses only. So this has allowed me basically to create an entire placement test embedded into a wiki. Wonderful way for students to go and do this on their own. Embedding it here gives me control over the components that, again, don't actually reside in the wiki, but are simply being displayed in the wiki, and gives the students the ability to go in and work on this on their own. So those are my 2 innovative uses of technology. Thank you for watching.